Good afternoon, and thank you to the organizers and allowing me to pitch the gospel of mining from Nigeria. It's a delight to be here today to address the distinguished audience drawn from around the world and also to showcase our government efforts towards making Nigerian mining sector the desired destination for foreign investment. The federal government of Nigeria, in its relentless pursuit to revitalize the mineral sector, has instituted a policy framework which is possibly our biggest argument today for seeking to attract investment into Nigeria. Before sharing with you our catalog of achievements and the giant strides we have attained, it is pertinent to point out that our successes have been built on the backbone of our signature policy document, which is called the Roadmap. This roadmap was developed in 2016, brought about stakeholders to look at where mining was as of that time, and then have a 10-year roadmap to look at what we needed to do in the immediate, the medium term, and the long term. And with a few tweaks here and there over the years, we uncurse and we're beginning to get the desired results into Nigeria. The legislative framework, that's the first thing we started with. The government embarked on the review of the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act of 2007, which is aimed at aligning our legislation into conformity with global best practices. Nigeria had been known for oil and gas, probably the fifth largest producer of crude oil in the world. But mining sector, especially for minerals, have been neglected. We realized it, and with this government in this administration decided to use mining as one of the major focus of diversification of the economy. So, today, with relevant stakeholders, we're in the process of implementing a downstream mineral policy aimed at unlocking the benefits of the entire value chain in the mineral sector. This is something we learned from the oil and gas industry. We've done poorly when it comes to the oil and gas industry. Nigeria, as of today, we export crude oil and then import petroleum products into Nigeria. These, of course, have brought a lot of negative consequences. We've exported all the jobs, we've exported the wealth. There are over 200 products that comes out of crude oil. We only get back about 4 or 5 of those. So, lessons learned from this. Ab initio, as we begin the journey into mining, we set down the marker. We want local beneficiation of minerals in Nigeria. We don't want to just export raw oil out of Nigeria. So it's a signature policy, the downstream policy, that encourages miners to process in country. And if you cannot do that, we are also attracting investors to bring in their own processing plant. So people who cannot process themselves could sell the raw oil within country, and then the processing can take place. Highlights of some of our deliverables that's attracting mining investment and achieving sustainable mining development in Nigeria as follows. The enhanced exploration and geoscience data generation to attract the right type of investment to Nigerian mining sector with a project that we call NIMEP, National Integrated Mineral Exploration Project. We realized that ab initio there is a dearth of data on mining in Nigeria. And a lot of people are averse to this risk not coming in. So what government did is to advance a sum, modest sum of $100 million then. And we went into this exploration project, and the data gathered thereby are beginning to attract people into Nigeria. We go on road shows like this, and we bring in the competent persons that have participated in this project, and of course show them data, which of course are credible and believable. And then we're beginning to see investment in gold, lithium, nickel, chromium, and cobalt, etc., in Nigeria. We're also undertaking, and this is currently going on, high-resolution urban geophysical survey over proof of concept areas, of course, identified over our previous data. We're also undertaking high-density geochemical mapping of areas aimed at delineating targets for further mineral explorations. Application of digital process in the governance of the sector. What has happened is the British were in Nigeria even before independence, since 1903, in mining. And there are a lot of legacy data that's with the British Geological Survey. Through a World Bank finance project, the Mean Diver, we are retrieving this data. The BGS is converting this data to a digital format for us. And of course, this data, coupled with the data we're mining, we're bringing up in Nigeria currently, will come on a national geodata center and a mineral decision support system, so that information will be readily available on Nigerian mineral sector. From the comfort of wherever you are, you can access this data, which will assist in quick and effective information management and investment decisions for our will-be investors. The mining, the cadastre system, which is actually our licensing system, has become more transparent and online. We've migrated to a system called Electronic Mining Cadastre Plus. This essentially will mean that from the comfort of your offices and your location, you could access our licensing system. You could look at licenses that exist. Maybe you intend to partner with some people. You can ascertain authenticity of such data. Also, you can also apply for licenses from the comfort of wherever you are. In the past, you will have had to come to Nigeria to do this. These are some of the arrangements that we have. We have the issue of artisanal and small-scale miners, and there's a department dedicated to this under ministry. What we are doing, and very successfully so, is to organize these artisanal miners into cooperatives, minimum of 10. And we have a lot of incentives for that. I think one of the best in the country is providing funding for these people. We have funds to the maximum of about $70,000 for artisanal and small-scale miners at 5% interest rate, payable over 20 years. It's the best you can get in Nigeria. It's small, but it aids these people in furthering their activity and, of course, increasing productivity and profitability. Government has put this fund in place to deepen the space. We're also building strategic partnerships with our security agencies, with other regulatory agencies like customs people, immigration, such that it becomes much easier for investors to come in. You could do visa on arrival in Nigeria, and then if you need to export any of these products, your beneficiated material, the customs services are also integrated to make life easier for everybody. There is a steel plant in Nigeria called Adegbite Steel Company, and of course the National Iron Ore Mining Company. A few people might be familiar with that. These are being attempts of the Nigerian government to produce liquid steel in Nigeria over the years. This system we review all the cases that we had. We had a few encumbrances. The two projects are free of all legal encumbrances now. And we've employed a transaction advisor, a Canadian firm is working on that, to make sure that these assets are concessioned on equitable terms so that they can begin to produce. That's the steel company itself, there's a steel plant there, and of course, the company that produces raw material, the iron ore, National Iron Ore Mining Company. We've got the bitumen bidding program. Nigeria has vast resources of bitumen, and now Nigeria we have to import bitumen into Nigeria for our road making purposes, for construction of buildings and all that. The whole essence was that bitumen was not being mined and produced locally. So we've started a process with a transaction advisor, Messrs. PwC, is an international company, who are managing this process. We've got a lot of interested, at the last time, about 26 companies are interested in having bitumen acreages within Nigeria. We're also encouraging this, it's not just to produce bitumen, but to take it to do the beneficiation locally, and of course, produce bitumen that can be used for road projects. We also have, of course, the opportunity to export locally within the African Growth Opportunity, the AFCT, the free trade thing in Africa. So our neighbors like Ghana and all that, where they do not have bitumen. We have also established a lot of business-friendly initiatives. Some will call it incentives for our will-be investor. One of these is the customs and import duty waiver on plant, machinery, and equipment imported for mining operations. You don't pay any customs duty. Once you establish a mining project in Nigeria, be it at exploration level or even a full project, you're bringing in plant, machinery, and equipment, the customs and import duties are waived for you. There's a tax holiday for people who are coming in between 3 to 5 years as applicable. We give you a 3-year initially, and of course, if the conditions are right, you can extend this to a 5-year tax holiday. Free transferability of funds and permission to retain and use and foreign exchange. This is one of the policies to attract investment. Capital allowances, up to 95% of qualifying capital expenditure. Deductibility of environmental cost. Money meant for remediation of the environment. This, of course, is tax-free. And of course, Nigeria, we allow 100% ownership for foreign entities. The government is not interested in taking any equity from your business. You can own the mines 100%. Our aim is to generally create a globally competitive sector capable of contributing to the national growth and development of our nation, while also fostering a sustainable natural resource management culture that results in a win-win situation for all. The Nigerian government, in collaboration with critical stakeholders, is developing a robust ESG standard. A lot has been said here today, and I think the first thing we recognized, which is also lessons learned from the oil and gas industry, was that the community has been made the focus, the center point of mining in Nigeria. Without what you call the consent, initial consent of the community, you cannot mine anything in Nigeria. That is, the community, you must have the ability to convince them. After you found your data, you found what's on the ground there. Even what's under the ground could be worth $1 trillion. If you're unable to convince the community, government will not compel them. So the community must be convinced that, yes, this is going to be profitable to everybody. And then once you have the consent, government can grant you a license. But then part of the ESG as well is at a second level. After you get your license, before you can start operations, there's what we call Community Development Agreement. It's a CDA. These are sets of graduated promises that is coded, is written down and signed by both parties. And government is like an umpire on this. We help both the company and the community to stay within that. This is done on a 5-yearly basis, so that whatever you promise over the next 5 years, we make sure that you stick to that. At the same time, we moderate the expectation of the company. Whatever is agreed and written, the community cannot go beyond that in the first 5 years. Of course, the company is at liberty to do CSR up and beyond the CDA. This is to, of course, urge hesitant investors to come into Nigeria. Our royalty rates are very attractive. It's still the best around the world. with royalties between 3% to 5% maximum currently in Nigeria. Some jurisdictions are doing 20% royalty, but our royalty is still 3 to 5%. Of course, we're just trying to come back into mining. We have some success stories out of Nigeria who have done this. There's this Canadian company, Tor Explorations, that is doing cellular gold projects in the southwestern part of Nigeria. And they started commercial operation of gold out of Nigeria. They started exporting gold out of Nigeria from October last year. And they are on track to produce between 95 to 100,000 ounces of gold per annum. Current reserve estimates about 500,000 ounces. And of course, further exploration is going on to expand the life of the mines. Another worthy example is the African Natural Resource and Mines Limited. This is also direct foreign investment, over $600 million. They're going to be producing liquid steel out of Kaduna. That's a northwestern state in Nigeria. They've located the steel plant within the iron ore deposit in that neighborhood. And of course, they started operation already in the third quarter of this year. That is sometime in July of this year. Nigeria is leveraging on our competitive strength. There are recent discovery of critical minerals which are required for energy transitions and have made Nigeria a preferred destination for mining investment. These findings have been followed up some international companies for development. What we are insisting is local beneficiation. I was in Saudi Arabia early this year for the Future Minerals Summit in Saudi Arabia. That was in January, and was approached by an electric car company to come and mine the lithium in Nigeria. And we insisted, yes, we want that, but we want you to do local beneficiation for the lithium and possibly even produce the battery from Nigeria. We can create jobs for our people, create wealth for our people. We've got talents, we've got people who are well educated. This is, of course, trite in saying that Nigerians are well known all over the world for their contribution, even to other economies. But we need to do things in-house, of course, to arrest the restiveness among our youths. Abundant local mineral potentials. We have a lot of these new so-called feature minerals that have been discovered in Nigeria: copper, lithium, cobalt, and all that. And there's a local demand. The Nigerian market of over 200 million people, yearning for products and all that to be manufactured in-house. And also, because of the relative green activity in mining Nigeria, cost of production is so much lower than in other jurisdictions. So we have funding support available, of course, at the local level. That's a Bank of Industry collaboration that we're doing for artisanal miners. But government has gone further to deepen this. We set up a solid mineral development fund in Nigeria, and government is capitalizing this fund to make access to the funding in Nigeria. We're also, through this agency, the Solid Mineral Development Fund, we're attracting partners, interested partners, to bring in funds through this so they can de-risk, at least guide the will-be investor for funding. We've set up this fund, we're capitalizing them, but people who want to bring in funds into Nigeria, and you do not know the best way to do that, you can come in through the Solid Mineral Development Fund, and of course, they can break the ice and of course help you, especially when it comes to the smaller amounts that development banks don't want to do. These are some of the investment capability government is developing in Nigeria. And please, I welcome all of us here to spread the gospel of mining in Nigeria far beyond the reaches of this world. Thank you all for listening, and I hope that we'll see you in Nigeria very soon. We just completed our Nigerian Mining Week. It was very successful. We had a lot of turnout, and I look forward to seeing all of you before the next one next year. Thank you so much for listening to me.